Welcome to the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast.
Hashtag hosts and the HQFM quiz and bingo software are proud to sponsor the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast. With HQFM quiz and bingo software, you can use this interactive quiz software at any venue. All you need is an internet connection. Go to hashtagquiz.co.uk for your free trial today.
Hello and welcome to Catherine Vandome and Me. I'm Catherine Vandome and I am a stand-up comedian in recovery from very severe ME. I'm also a published author of The Truth About Me, and this is out now, and it's my autobiography all about entertainment and health. And on that special note, it gives me great pleasure to introduce on today's podcast a lovely, lovely lady who is an advocate for disability and neurodiversity. And she's also a finalist for the 2024 Diversity Awards. It gives me great pleasure to introduce this morning the beautiful Lauren Wyatt. Hello there, Lauren. How are you?
Hello, I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Lauren. And thank you for your patience this morning with my introduction. All my words are jumbled. So it's a real pleasure to be here with you today, Lauren. It really, really is. And I want to say a special thank you to the lovely friend of yours, Rachel Flanagan, who's also been on our show, and she introduced me to you over social media, and she's a lovely lady, isn't she, as well?
Yeah, she is.
And how do you know Rachel, Lauren?
So we met at a Tourette's event organised by Tourette's Action. So we met at the Whitemoor Lakes one last year now, sorry.
Okay.
So it was really good fun, actually. It was a great weekend. And then she put on our little group chat from the event that you were looking for people to come on your podcast. I said I was interested, and she put us in touch.
That's amazing. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic, because Rachel was also a student of mine when I ran a children's theatre school over 10 years ago now, and she was absolutely fantastic as an actress as well. So that's amazing. And I want to hear today all about your backdrop and what got you into this advocacy, and how you've arrived on a red carpet for a finalist of Diversity Awards 2024. I mean, what a magic, wonderful opportunity for you, Lauren. And obviously your advocacy is so incredible in support of others, which is such a beautiful quality to have. The same as Rachel, it's wonderful that you're raising awareness for this condition, and I really, really am so proud of everything that you've done in all I've researched on you, Lauren. What a beautiful human being you are. So on that note, Lauren, first and foremost, what is your job? What is your position today, and is this all embodied within the neurodiversity and disability network as well?
So I'm an ambassador for Tourette's Action on the National Neurodiversity Youth Council, which is a group of about 20 young people aged 16 to 24. And we are basically working for a more neuro-inclusive world. So we want to make changes in the employment, healthcare and education sectors, as well as justice system, to make the world more inclusive for people with neurodivergent conditions, and to basically make it a safer place for everyone.
Wow, that's incredible. And have you got a secondary job as well as that, Lauren, that perhaps you were working towards or doing, or what got you into this?
So I used to work in bars. I used to be a bartender. My partner and I ran a local pub for a little while, but now I'm a learning support assistant at a SEN college.
Wow.
It's super exciting. I start next week, actually, on Monday.
Fantastic. Well, this is the thing. I wanted to try and get you on the show before you embarked on your second career, because obviously it is a career when you're doing advocacy as well. And so just tell me a little bit about what you are going to be doing on Monday and whereabouts you are going to be.
So I'm going to be at a college in Alton, which is for children and young adults with sorry.
You're all right. You don't need to apologise.
Thank you. Special educational needs.
Okay.
And I am so excited to be working in such an amazing place. I mean, the technology they've got in place for the students is incredible.
Wow. Explain a little bit more about that, Lauren. Explain about the technology advancements that you've got there.
So the majority of the students at the school and college, from what I understand, have cerebral palsy, and the majority of them are in wheelchairs or power chairs. The entire college and school is wheelchair accessible. They've got all of the things that the students might need to get around and to basically live their best life.
Wow.
Also, the thing that got me, or that impressed me a lot, was they've got a room where there's where it like projects all around the room, and it does things like interactive things, like games and things for them, but also they can project the walk from the college to the town, so that the students can learn the route from the college to the town without even having to leave the college. I thought that was really cool.
Wow, that's incredible. And Alton, that's Surrey, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because I went to the Guildford School of Acting, which is obviously Guildford, and I think you're Woking area, is that right?
I've just moved to Guildford, actually.
You just moved to Guildford. Wow, so a beautiful place to live and work. Gorgeous surrounds there. Have you lived there your whole life, Lauren?
I've lived in Surrey my whole life. Used to be around like Knaphill, Woking area, and now obviously just moved to Guildford. So
that's incredible. So the college itself is in Alton, so only a couple of train stops away. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been very lucky actually. I've been approved for access to work. So they've given me a grant to be able to get to and from the college a lot easier.
Wow, that's incredible. So you're getting the support that you deserve, Lauren, in the workplace, and paying it forward to other people in order to continue this level of advocacy, which oozes from all of you. You really are, you're just advocating for your own disability with the Tourette's syndrome, but you're also advocating for other youngsters coming up the ranks with other different disabilities, including cerebral palsy and lots of other disabilities, and networking with others as well. And what's the age group that you'll be working with?
So the school itself, like the whole school and college, works with children and young adults between ages 2 to 25, I believe.
Wow.
So quite a wide range, but I'll be working with the college students. So
that's absolutely incredible. Wow, Lauren, that's incredible. And so on that note, I want to know, we're going to sort of do a little rewind back in your life, Lauren, with your permission. And I want to know what got you to this point today and how things in your life began. And is this a disability of recent times, or is this something that you've had throughout your life, Lauren, just to start on that?
No worries. So I've had very simple tics from quite a young age, since I was about 7, possibly younger. But they kind of went unnoticed, undiagnosed until I was 17. So although some of my classmates kind of noticed my twitches and my squeaks, they just thought, that's just something Lauren does. She's just a bit quirky, I guess.
Yes.
But then when I was 17, I donated blood. The blood donation caused a seizure, which is a very rare complication of donating blood. I think it's about 0.03% of people will have a seizure after donating blood. So please don't let it put you off donating. But it just happened to be me. And then that seizure was a traumatic event for my body, which triggered my tics to get awful. Like, they went from little twitches and squeaks a couple of times a day to full body convulsions. I couldn't walk properly. I couldn't feed myself, drink out of glass. It was very difficult to kind of come to terms with, to lose that much independence in a day, literally. But then my worsening tics is what led to my diagnosis of Tourette's, and that's how my whole journey started. So,
And how old were you, Lauren, when you gave blood?
17.
17. So prior to that, from age 7, so for 10 years, you felt there was something happening to yourself. Did you feel it as much as others noticed it? And what about your parents? Did they notice anything?
No, so my family didn't really notice anything at all. Like I said, it was a couple of times a day. It was just a little twitch and a squeak. And not many people noticed it at all. I just like talking to like childhood friends since having the diagnosis and saying, you know, did you ever notice anything? Like, yeah, you've always done that.
Right. So it's just like a natural trait, like somebody might stretch the mouth or rub the face or something. And children do have different expressions as we're growing. So it was just taken as, okay, this is a Laurenism.
Yeah, exactly. No one really thought anything of it. But I mean, I noticed them a little bit, and I remember saying to one of my friends when I went around their house, you know, I'm worried that your parents are going to think I'm weird because of my twitches. And that was when I was about 13, 14 years old. So I think that's when I became more aware of them.
Okay.
It's funny actually, because around about that age, when I was in, I think I was in some kind of language class, maybe French, and the person I was sat next to me said, "What, have you got Tourette's or something?" And I'd never heard of Tourette's. I didn't know what it was. So I went over to my friends. I was like, "Oh, you know, what's Tourette's? You know, this person's just asked me if I've got it." And they were like, "Oh, it's this thing where you swear." And of course, that's not really what Tourette's is.
Yeah.
That's one very specific part of it. But me being a 13, 14-year-old thought, "Oh, well, you know, I don't swear, so I can't have that." And that was the end of it.
Wow. So somebody had picked up, perhaps they knew somebody with this condition, or did they have this condition perhaps?
They didn't have it as far as I'm aware, but maybe they knew more about it than me. But
yeah. And of course, so you all, you know, do you think by this point perhaps the tics were getting slightly more increased, or?
I think a little bit, because that, like I say, that's when I remember noticing them more. But yeah, I mean, it's so strange looking back and seeing all the signs and thinking, that was Tourette's, you know.
And the blood donation, just for clarity for anybody listening today, was just a standard blood donation, which I used to give quite regularly. So it was just the needle was inserted into the arm, and you were only giving a small amount of blood. It wasn't a huge amount. And just explain again what happened. Was it within giving blood or at the end of it? What actually happened?
At the end of it. So I went in, I was asked all the questions, all this kind of thing, making sure that I was fit to donate blood, and that was all fine. I went with my mum because she donates blood quite regularly, and 17 is the youngest you're allowed to donate blood in the UK. And I had this whole plan. I was like, right, I'm going to start when I'm 17. I'm going to donate as often as I can. I'm going to break records. I'm going to help as many people as I can. Obviously, that didn't go to plan in the way I thought it would. But yeah, so I donated the blood. That was all fine. Went over to the little, the table with the snack and the drink that you have to have before you leave. And I apparently sat down. My mum went to the car and said, "I'll meet you at the car," because I was nearly done. And I apparently sat down and said, "Oh, I don't feel so good," and then collapsed and started having a seizure. I don't remember that. I remember going over to the table and mum saying, "Oh, I'll see you in a minute," but I don't remember anything after that until I came round. And I was laid across a couple of chairs. I had nurses all around me. They'd shut off the blood donation centre, told everyone to go home, which I feel awful about, and I still do.
Lauren, no, do not feel awful about that. Goodness me, that's not your fault. Quite the opposite. What I love is hearing you say with such empathy that A, you couldn't continue to donate, and B, what a shame that they had to close the centre, which, like I say, what a beautiful soul you are to be thinking like that. Instead of woe is me, you're thinking, oh my goodness, poor everybody else. So what an enormous heart you have, Lauren.
Thank
So
you.
this time, though, this was about you, and you deserve that nurse and medical care. And they must have been extremely concerned to close the doors,
Yeah.
which is lovely. So you're obviously surrounded by some wonderful nurses and care assistants, yeah?
100%. Yeah. So they phoned an ambulance because the seizure, they think it was a hypoxic seizure, where I believe my brain wasn't getting enough oxygen.
Yeah.
But they called the ambulance because it was going on longer than a hypoxic seizure usually does. But the nurse said, I've seen one before, I'm sure it's that. But it is going on longer than it should.
Yeah.
So the ambulance took me to the hospital, and the hospital did some tests, and they couldn't really find anything wrong as such. They said, right, so you've had a seizure, but your vitals are all fine now.
Yeah.
So they said the only thing that's kind of out of the ordinary is that I was still having these like convulsions in my abdomen. I was still tensing my abdomen like every couple of seconds.
This is in the hospital, Lauren?
Yes, this was in the hospital. This was all the way from the seizure straight through. And they were like, you're awake, you're talking, you're conscious, but you're still having these abdominal clenches. They said it's probably just the after effects of the seizure, it'll go away, and they sent me home. So fast forward to a few days later, I am still having the abdominal clenches. My arms are flailing all over the place, and I've started saying ham like over and over again. And I was thinking, what is going on? Because I'm pretty sure that's not just the after effects of a seizure. So we went to my GP, and they again tried to tell me, oh, it's just the after effects of the seizure. And I was like, I'm saying ham. Why has the seizure made me say ham? And they're like, it's just anxiety. And I was like, I'm not anxious.
Yeah.
I used to be. I I went to CAMS as a child for anxiety and OCD, but I'm not anxious anymore. Nothing here is making me anxious except for the fact I can't stop saying ham. So in the end, he said, okay, I'll refer you to a neurologist. I was like, great, that's perfect, thank you. And I was lucky, actually. I was seen very quickly compared to other people who have tics. I think because it was an NHS blood donation that triggered it all for me, they kind of rushed it through a bit. And I saw the neurologist, and he asked me a lot of questions. They did MRI scans, they did blood tests, a lot of questions about my personal medical history, family medical history, what my movements felt like and looked like. And he diagnosed me with Tourette's.
Right. So this was a medical doctor or a specialist?
Yeah, so this was a neurologist who specialised.
A neurologist. Right. Yeah. And so after that diagnosis, once you've got a label, as I know, what happened next, Lauren? What was your...
I was relieved in some ways. I was like, okay, so this is actually a thing. I'm not going crazy. I've got a name for what's going on. But at the same time, I knew that I'd been told Tourette's is a lifelong condition. It's not going to go away. So that was a lot to kind of accept and come to terms with the fact that I was relatively, normal before. And then I came away from this blood donation, and I was never going to be the same again. That was very difficult to come to terms with for both myself and my family, I think. I think my parents especially struggled with the fact that their child isn't able-bodied anymore. Yeah, I mean, I was so relieved to have a name for what I was going through. And then that opened up a lot of doors for me with support systems, like to be introduced to Tourette's Action and that kind of thing, who I think saved my life, to be honest. They have helped me so much, introducing me to people like me, like Rachel. They've changed my life for the better. But in the beginning, it was like, oh, wow, this is a big label, you know?
Of course, of course. And that can often happen, Lauren. I was also diagnosed, as you know, with ME and fibromyalgia and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And once you've got a label, unfortunately, they then say it's for life. But actually, I always provide hope for everybody and say, not necessarily. So in some cases, and perhaps in mine and perhaps in yours, it may be, but not for everybody. And even in our cases, Lauren, I want to give hope, and I know you do as well, and say it's not necessarily going to be forever. There's, who knows, as fast as something can come, it could go. And there's lots and lots of advanced support out there, both on the NHS and with holistic healing modalities that I have been lucky enough to use, whereby conditions can be alleviated, you know, and dampened down, certainly, and also circumstances can change. So never feel that something is for life, because that was, for me, that was the most upsetting day of my life when a medical doctor said, go home and learn to live with it, because I knew that I couldn't. I mean, I was, you know, in such a bad way. I knew that I couldn't physically continue like that in such an extreme set of circumstances. But for you also, I think that you also have that hope. Would you agree with me, Lauren? Or do you feel that it is for life? What's your feelings?
For me personally, I've been told on a few occasions, you know, you're not trying hard enough to get rid of it.
Oh, no, it's not about trying. No, goodness.
Exactly. And the way I see it is, it's usually a lifelong condition. My tics could get better, they could get worse, that'll fluctuate, wax and wane, but I will likely be ticking for life. And instead of kind of hoping that it'll get better or it'll go away, I'm trying to learn to accept and live with it as it is.
And I hope that you can recover, if not from the severity level that you are going through today, because it is exhausting, isn't it?
It really is. I think that's it's definitely one of the biggest things that people don't see with Tourette's. There's this whole stereotype that it's a funny swearing disease and that we just yell out uncontrollably, which is true in a lot of cases. I mean, I think it's about 10 to 15% of people with Tourette's have coprolalia, which is the name for the socially inappropriate tics. And I am a part of that percentage. I do have the coprolalia, I do shout out the swear words. But as you can see, the majority of my tics aren't swearing. And I would even go as far as to say that my little tics, the ones that you're seeing today, are more exhausting than the swearing.
Yeah. Because
it's constant and it's painful. That's the other thing. The exhaustion and the pain are the two things that people don't see. And it's difficult because when you say, oh, I've got Tourette's, and people are like, oh yeah, that's really funny, you swear, you know, it must be so nice to get away with saying whatever you want. But I'm like, well, it's not what I want. I would never want to swear and, you know, say horrible things to children as they walk past me, or, you know, shout horrible things at anyone, you know. It's all fun and games until it's in a situation that you don't want it to be in. So people think, oh, you can just swear and get away with it. But if you think about the worst situation to swear in, I will swear in it, because that's what coprolalia is. It will make you say the worst thing at the worst time. And
it's not your fault. I want to say today, it is not anxiety. Would you agree with me?
Oh, 100%. Anxiety can definitely make tics worse, but it won't cause them.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's not depression either. Agree? Yeah. Because it's amazing how many of our neurodiverse conditions are very often misdiagnosed, which is what my book's all about, The Truth About Me by Cathy Vandome. It's all about how I was, like yourself, misdiagnosed with anxiety, and I'd just been jumping off the front of the stage in 6-inch heels as a Jessie J tribute. So I knew that I certainly wasn't anxious. And like yourself, sadly, my condition was within 24 hours where I collapsed off the front of the settee in a sort of seizure state, and like you, my life has never been the same since, but I was very lucky to meet Dr. Raymond Perrin, who's a world-leading neuroscientist, and his specialist area is the drainage of the brain. And it's interesting that you talked about the blood flow, because I was so white, there was not enough blood flowing to the brain. And like you, when I gave blood, and it was very limited because I always failed the pre-test. I couldn't even get onto this lab. And like you, I felt very much like, oh, I'm letting people down here. Often they would puncture one arm, say, oh no, it's moving too slowly when they did the test, not flowing quick enough. And then they would puncture the second arm. And after they'd done both, they would say, well, you can't give blood now anyway, because both arms are punctured. So I would fail the test anyway and go home with two plasters on each arm and a failed. And like you, I used to think, oh, how many lives could I have saved? But we have to understand that our health matters most. And, you know, like putting on your own equipment in a plane crash, first, you have to look after yourself first, Lauren, and that's what today is about. As much as you're about to embark next week on this amazing project, taking care of children and adults with special needs, you are also yourself being aided through that journey and supported so that you can actually fulfill and live your best life. Is that right?
Yes, 100%.
And I just want to just quickly interlude, because I've got a little wriggly Tinker here, my co-host. I just want Tinker to meet one of the most amazing ladies. Mwah. This is Lauren, and this is Tinker. If you want to give a little wave, Lauren. And he's very honoured to meet our special guest and advocate for neurodiversity and disability. And have you got any pets, Lauren? Because he has helped save my life, I have to say.
Yes,
What have you got, Lauren?
So at my family house, we've got a few different pets. We've got a Dalmatian called Dave. We've got 2 snakes, Bert and Ernie.
Wow.
But with me at my house, I've got 2 rabbits called Bella and Astrid, who I've actually got on my top here.
Oh, look at that. That's incredible.
It's a hoodie from Lucy and Lola. I love their bits. They embroider your pet's face onto clothing and bags and things.
Oh, just tell us who they are and where to find them.
So it's called Lucy and Lola. You can find them online if you Google Lucy and Lola. Then you can upload a photo of your pet and they'll embroider it on a top for you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Bella and Astrid.
That's amazing, Lauren. Thank you for that. I think I might take you up on that one. So I'll just put Tinker down because you want a little rest by the fire because it's so cold, isn't it, Lauren?
It is.
There you go, baby. So, and Tinker, he is 16 and a half years of age. So bless him. He's started to bang into things a little bit. He's getting a little unsteady on his feet, but he wanted to meet you today. That was important. So thank you for that. So would you agree with me that pets, animals, comforts, all these types of things can all help support people with our health conditions? And just tell me a little bit about that, Lauren.
Yes, I 100% agree. My parents actually got my rabbits for me on my 18th birthday because they'd heard that having pets can help people with Tourette's. So they wanted me to have them in my room with me because obviously we have Dave, the dog, who is amazing, but he's very much a mummy's boy. He loves my mum. So they wanted me to have like pets of my own that I could look after myself. And that would hopefully help me, and they have massively. So my Bella and Astrid had them since they were babies. They are, what are they now? 4 now, I think.
And where do they live? Where do they live?
So they were house rabbits. They lived in my room for a while, and then when I moved out, we've got a big. It's actually a cattery. But I've adapted it to the rabbits. It's like a big shed in the garden. It's got like an upstairs, a downstairs. It's got heaters, all sorts.
Oh my goodness. Do you agree with me? I don't think it's a good idea to put one single rabbit into a tiny hutch. I have never ever felt, I'm a real animal lover, and I've never ever felt that was something that any animal would want to live
No.
and bear, not just rabbits, but any animal. And we seem to have ignored the needs of our of wildlife, and that is not how they should live, in my opinion.
It makes me so upset when I see
Yeah.
1, 2, however many rabbits in a little tiny hutch, like the ones they sell at like Pets at Home and that kind of thing. That's not enough room for a rabbit. I think it's something like 2 by 3 meters, and then 1 meter high they're supposed to have. And that's like the minimum amount of space that a rabbit is supposed to have. And I think it's so horrible that they're kept in these little tiny boxes, or even worse, the little wire cages that are kept inside. I think it's horrible.
And on their own as well, because animals want to interact.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it's all animals and humans. We need that community, which is what today's podcast is about, Lauren, as well. The opportunity to meet like-minded souls on similar missions, and incredible people like yourself with such a big heart and soul. And I hope that people can see and feel that from you, as I can, because it's people like you that make the world a better place, Lauren. It really is.
Thank you. You too. I mean, the work that you do is incredible.
Oh, Lauren, thank you. That's so kind. And it's the main thing is, as you just said, the pets, the animals, even the jumpers and things like that. All these little fun accessories and intricacies that other people perhaps may not have time to think about. When you've got a lot of time in solitary, as you and I are aware of that, these are the things that can light you up. Would you agree?
Yeah, the other thing is being around animals massively reduces my tics. If I'm sat in with my rabbits, I barely tick at all. And it's such a nice respite from the constant movements and sounds. It's so nice to just be able to be, and you forget what it's like to not tick. Like sometimes I will I'll see other people, like my partner, he doesn't have Tourette's, he's amazing, his name's Jack, but I'll look at him and think, how are you not twitching? How does that work? And it's just so strange to see other people and think, oh, they actually don't do this. It's become so normalized for myself. It's a really weird thought to think that other people don't have to do it.
Alcohol makes our condition much, much worse. Would you agree?
Yes. So for me, I occasionally have a drink if it's a special occasion, but I have to be very careful because of the medications that I'm on, because it interacts with different medications. You're not supposed to drink on my meds. So I maybe have one drink on a very special occasion, but that's it.
Right, yeah. And do you feel that you would get very woozy very quickly? Because
100%.
Yeah. So what's your position on neurodiversity, Lauren? And as you're an advocate of that, what would you describe as neurodiversity? Is it both mental and physical impairments, or is there something more to it?
I think the term neurodiversity, or neurodivergency, I should say, is a great umbrella term for a wide range of conditions. But I think the problem with it at the moment is people see the word neurodivergent and then they think autism and ADHD, and that's it. That's the only things they think of when they hear neurodivergent or neurodivergency. Whereas, in fact, it's an umbrella term for so much more than that. I mean, it includes Tourette's, it includes OCD, it includes dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia. So many neurodivergent conditions aren't thought about when you say neurodivergent, because people don't look beyond autism and ADHD. So when you're thinking about autism and ADHD, a lot of people with those don't see it as a disability. They see it as just a condition, a difference within them, which is great. But when people say neurodivergence isn't a disability, they should say neurodivergence isn't a disability for everyone. Because, I mean, with my Tourette's, obviously that's a neurodivergent condition. Yes, it's a different way of me, like, thinking, feeling, everything. But it is also a disability for me because it affects the way I walk, the way I eat, the way I drink. It affects every area of my life. And it is very much a disability for me. Whereas other people with different conditions maybe don't see their ADHD, for example, as a disability, or they would only see it as a disability because of the way that society is as such. Like, society has made it a disability because they've created this social norm, which I don't fit into. But even if Tourette's was normalised, it would still be a disability for me because it causes me so much pain. So I think we have to be quite careful with the language that we're using and the way that we, I can't think of the word, like summarise something.
So what you're saying is there's physical disabilities, which you and I have, and Tourette's fits into that camp. So perhaps it could be your mission, as it was mine with ME, to get Tourette's on the camp of a physical condition, because as of yet, I'm sure you agree, it is still considered psychological. Is that right, Lauren?
Yes. So, I mean, Tourette's is considered a neurological condition as such, rather than, or like psychological and neurological, maybe. But a lot of people don't see it as a physical condition, although there are those physical tics. They don't see it as like a physical disability, which it very much is for a lot of us.
Once you understand why something happens, then I feel we're all best placed then to find a path forwards as well to help each other. So there's the social aspect of help, as you said. You've got the Tourette's action. Is it Tourette's action? Is that right? Yeah. So you've got this social support where you find fellow comrades in your particular diverse and neurodiverse field, but you've also got the health interactions such as today, where people can actually support each other on the physical aspects. And what you're highlighting, which I think is extremely important to hear, because I know people with the most extreme Tourette's as well. I've met patients with the most extreme levels of Tourette's, whose life is, well, they have said it's an unbearable state to live in. And I had one of the most extreme levels of ME. And again, there are people who can work with ME right through to the people who were in my state where they're bedbound, unable to turn their head on a pillow, and having seizures and things. So there's different levels of these conditions. And perhaps this is why doctors are baffled as to how to treat them. And that's why I wanted to talk about the umbrella bracket, because the umbrella terminology of any and all disease states is different for everybody. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing. We've got to remember that neurodiversity is an umbrella term, and it encompasses a lot of different things and a lot of different experiences. Whereas a lot of people think, oh, well, they're neurodivergent, I'm neurodivergent, we must be the same. Or more likely, they're neurodivergent and they're neurodivergent, they must be the same.
Yes.
Because, like, oh, I've met someone with Tourette's and you don't act like them, so you must not have Tourette's. I'm like, well, actually, that's a very big spectrum.
Yes.
Like, there's so many different ways to experience Tourette's and autism and ADHD and every other neurodivergency. There's a billion different ways to experience it. So just because I don't act like your, friend's cousin's hamster's girlfriend who has Tourette's, it doesn't mean
I like that.
I don't have it,
Absolutely. And it's one of those, again, it's called an invisible illness, such as mine is also. And it's very, very sad. And it's not invisible when you have it to the extreme that you and I have. Like I said, when I collapse on the floor, it's not invisible. I'm not playing musical bumps. It's not invisible. And as much as I might laugh, it hurts. And there's a brain swelling in both of these conditions because it's inflammation of the brain and spinal cord. And I would assume that in your case as well, there's that overlap. Do you have other symptomology that you can describe? So just go through the symptoms that you experience. Obviously, there's the tics, but what's the other physical symptoms to highlight that this is a physical condition and not psychological, and therefore, would you agree, needs to be treated as such? Would you agree, Lauren?
Oh, definitely needs to be treated as a physical disability as well as kind of a mental illness as such. Tourette's isn't a mental illness. Although the majority of people have comorbidities of different mental illnesses and different conditions, Tourette's itself isn't a mental illness.
Yes.
It is a neurological condition and it needs to be treated as the physical thing that it is.
And what symptomology do you experience day to day, Lauren? So take us through a standard day when you're getting up in the morning, and what disability support aids that you have from your bed throughout the day that would help somebody that's in your situation today.
So it's a little bit complicated for myself because alongside the Tourette's, I've also got something called FND, or we think it's FND at the moment. I'm diagnosed with FND, but we're exploring some other options.
Right. That is called functional neurological disorder.
So for me, when I get up in the morning, I some days are fine and I'm able to move freely. Some days are not so fine, and I'll wake up with my foot locked up or my hand locked up, and I won't be able to move freely. So in those cases, I use a walking stick or crutches to get around, which I use for both the FND symptoms and the Tourette symptoms, because I have tics in my legs that cause me to drop to my knees. Yeah. On days where those tics are really bad, then I will use a wheelchair, because I can't keep damaging my knees, you know. It just hurts. Yeah. And I know it's going to cause issues in the long run if I keep smashing my knees against the ground, you know. But on most days I will use a walking stick to get around, just to give me that little bit of extra support. And then if my knees do go, I've got more chance of catching myself before I hit the floor. I take my meds, or have something to eat, and then I take my meds, which help me so much. They've helped reduce the severity of my tics, but not so much the frequency. So the aripiprazole has massively reduced the severity of my tics, if not the frequency. The lamotrigine has reduced my seizures and also given me a lot more warning before them. And the sertraline has worked wonders for my OCD.
Wow. And what about diet? Is that something that, it's certainly something that I've had to hugely investigate. So I've had to really look at diet, and Dr. Sarah Myhill has also recently been on the channel. She's another lady you may want to investigate as well. She looks at the diet and how that can also help alleviate symptomology. She's also an expert in ME, so she also may be someone you'd like to have a look at as well, if that helps you and anybody watching today. So what's your diet like, Lauren? Have you got lots of green broccoli and all the things that I have to put in? What's your standard diet like?
Pretty standard, to be honest. I mean, I don't focus on my food that much, partially because of my OCD. It becomes, if I focus on it too much, it becomes obsessive, and I don't want it to go down that route again.
Right, okay.
But I do have to be careful with certain foods. So with my tics, I've noticed that certain things trigger them a lot more than others. So
go on, share that, Lauren. Share what triggers.
So for example, like batter, so battered fish, battered onion rings, like Yorkshire puddings, anything with batter in it. I don't know what it is in the batter. I don't know whether it's the fact that it's fried or what, but that is a big trigger for my tics. So I can't have like a fish and chips takeaway on a Friday or anything. I can't do that because it just triggers me massively.
Can I interject and suggest, because that also triggers me and my partner, who's also got ME. We have been told it's obviously vegetable fat, which is used to run cars, that a lot of people don't know. So that should never go in the human body anyway. So our substitution is coconut oil to fry food in. My little dog and I, we take a spoon of coconut oil every single day. Coconut oil is very healing for the body, and I use that as my makeup. Like I use it as cream. I use it on the body, getting as much coconut oil into the body, because as Dr. Sarah Myhill explains in her book and podcast, our body doesn't just need water to run. It is like a car. It also needs oil, but it doesn't want or need vegetable oil. It needs olive oil, but not cooking in olive oil, never cooking it, never heat it. Drizzle of olive oil on your salad or vegetables or whatever, but coconut oil has been one of my lifesavers, and I tell it to even my well friends. So if you get coconut oil, you can take your makeup off with it if you wear makeup. I don't wear makeup anymore. You can rub it all over the body. I use it for the Perrin technique, which is the drainage massage of the system, which helps drain the lymphatics. And so coconut oil is hugely healing. And if you just added, as my suggestion to you, passed on from others experts, a teaspoon of coconut oil a day, you may find that it clings to heavy metals in the body, because we often have a lot of heavy metal deposits stuck inside the body, and it can cling to those and actually help drain them out of the system. So there's multiple massive healing. What's your symptomology when you've eaten fish and chips?
For me, it's literally just my tics go through the roof.
Wow.
I don't know what it is. I don't really have any other symptoms other than just really intense and constant tics, and it's exhausting. And so before I tic, I get something called a premonitory urge, which is like a build-up of tension in the area I'm about to tic in. But when I eat fish and chips with like batter or truffle, like truffle mushroom, that is another big one for me. That premonitory urge just goes, it's horrible, it's everywhere, it's horrific, it's really uncomfortable, and my tics just go through the roof. But normally when I tic, it'll then reduce the premonitory urge, and then it'll start building up again, and then I'll tic and it'll go back down again. But when I eat these foods, it doesn't go down, it just goes up and up and up and up and up, and I tic more and more and more, and it still doesn't go away.
Wow.
So it's
well, that's incredible. So if I am right, and I'm only right because of Dr. Perrin's wisdom and insight in treating me, and Dr. Sarah Myhill's wisdom and insight on the diet, the connection seems to be, and that's in Dr. Perrin's science book, that the large molecules are gluten, dairy and sugar. So when we eliminate those three biggies, and my goodness, Lauren, I was a chocoholic, so don't think for 1 second that I don't enjoy. You may, and other people watching today may want to have a look at Dr. Sarah Myhill and Dr. Raymond Perrin and Dr. Nigel Spate as well, because those are the three leading experts in the UK on diet, on the science behind why neurodiversity occurs, the mechanisms of the brain, and also what triggers make it worse. Because we do get to a point, I mean, I'm 50 now, Lauren, and we do get to a point where we just say, right, I am so committed to recovery that it is worth not having that fish and chips on a Friday night, for example. Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely.
And how old, can I ask how old you are, Lauren, as a young advocate?
I'm 22.
You're 22, and it was since the age of 17 that you have suffered the greatest time with this disability. Is that right?
Yeah.
But what you're saying is the medical modality for yourself has alleviated some symptomology, but it's not completely gone. So you're now aware, is that right, of when these tics are about to occur, but they are still occurring. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So is there anything else in your day-to-day living that you can share that helps alleviate symptomology? So thank you for sharing that about food, because we also have that. So that's really interesting. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And if we stop separating and dividing and saying, well, that person's got this disability and that person's got this, if we understand that the mechanism of the brain is and the mechanism of the whole body, if you like, which is what Dr. Perrin looks at. It looks as the whole drainage of the lymphatic system and the drainage of the brain, which is called the glymphatic system. And those are impaired in both Tourette's, FND and ME. So that's quite interesting. So if we look at it as a holistic whole, the idea of this channel is to look at other modalities that perhaps we haven't had access to, and see if that also can be helpful. So meditation tends to be something in a lot of people's cases that they might start a little later in life. But is that something that you've ever looked at yourself, Lauren, meditation and relaxation?
A little bit. It's not something that I'm very big about. I know that it helps a lot of people, but for me, I think a big part of kind of meditation and that kind of thing is focusing on your breathing. And
Yes.
I struggle with that a lot because as soon as I focus on my breathing, my tics interrupt my breathing. So
Right.
so many people said, oh, try meditation and do these breathing exercises. I'm like, actually, that makes me worse.
Wow, that's
So
interesting.
yeah,
That's interesting.
I know that it helps a lot of people, especially like with Tourette's and that kind of thing. Meditation is a big thing that helps. But for me personally, as soon as I focus on my breathing, I my tics interrupt it, and then I'm holding my breath, and then I can't breathe, and then I'm breathing too much, and it's
You see, when we meditate, just like you were explaining earlier, when you are feeling relaxed, when you're comforting an animal, stroking a pet, which Dr. Perrin also suggests is great. When you're doing anything that's relaxing and you feel relaxed, you're operating what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system controls the lymphatic drainage. That's the drainage of toxins, Lauren. So when you are in that sympathetic state, which definitely Tourette's has, ME has, you're constantly in like what they call a fight or flight state, but your sympathetics are fast firing. And that can be physical, it can be emotional states, but it's also chemical as well. There can be chemical components in that. When you engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest, such as stroking an animal, which is very relaxing, such as anything that, I mean, I want you to share with me any relaxing states that you think might engage what's called the parasympathetic. So perhaps drawing, reading, coming off your screens. Because when you operate that, as you've just expressed today, it does work, doesn't it? Because you start to calm down. And what happens when you calm down is the tics reduce because you're not fast firing the sympathetics. Same with alcohol. If you drink alcohol, you then fast fire the sympathetics, which are already erratic. And that's why elimination of alcohol, I would say, for anybody with neurodiversity would be stage one in your recovery. Would you agree with that? And what modalities have helped you, Lauren?
I think again it very much is different for everyone. I don't think there's ever going to be a one size fits all approach. But things that have helped me, like you say with the art. So when I paint, I find that very relaxing. It helps my tics reduce. Doing my makeup, doing singing, guitar, that kind of thing. Again, that really helps my tics, which again, really nice little respite from it. Also kind of listening to music. I've got a playlist on my phone which I've called Lauren Calm, which I always put on if I'm having a tic attack because it kind of helps me come down from it. Although the music itself isn't enough to stop the attack by itself, I also have to take medication to help stop the tic attacks, which I take diazepam. But the music helps ground me a little bit more. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's incredible. So, the actual sound of music, you don't have what I have, like this profound reaction to sound. What you find is that the music itself, perhaps it's the beat of the music. I'm guessing you're not putting techno, you're not putting big dance tracks on. So that's important to share today. So what you're saying is it's the calm meditation type, therapy type music. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Just share with us what type of music you listen to.
So on my, Lauren Calm playlist, I've got a lot of different songs, but they're all quite slow, quite melodic, I guess, rather than the kind of fast-paced popular music, I guess. One of my favorites is Achilles Come Down by Gang of Youths, and that is my one of my favorite songs for kind of calming down.
That's really helpful today, Lauren, because there'll be people who are going through these horrendous, because it is horrendous, isn't it? It's not pleasurable. It's horrendous to have to live day to day, ticking. And as I say, I can only comment on the first 2 years of my disability before I started the Perrin treatment 2 years later, which then started to alleviate that in my case. And of course, I can only say just how exhausting it was to have that ticking constantly, because it hurts. Because I want you to talk about the pain as well. Is it painful? How painful is it? And when does it worsen, the pain levels?
Oh gosh, it's so painful. All over my body I experienced pain. And I mean, it got so bad that they gave me codeine to kind of help alleviate the pain, because I was in so much agony that I just couldn't function.
Yeah.
And a lot of this comes from my simple tics. So I've got a tic, you probably noticed, where this side of my mouth goes down, and that has given me major problems in my jaw. A lot of pain in that side of my jaw, and every couple of months it'll flare up and I can't actually open my mouth wide enough to eat anything except soup, because my jaw just seizes up where it's been so overused through the tics.
Yep.
Another one that I have a tic where I bend backwards, like almost into a crab, but I do it very suddenly, obviously no stretching or anything beforehand, because I don't know that it's coming until that premonitory urge and the tic.
So you'd be stood up and your whole body will bend into a crab?
Yeah, almost. So I don't put my arms out, but my back, instead of like being like this, I just go backwards, and then I have to come back up again, obviously. And if
Wow,
balance, and I'll hit my head, but I've got quite good at catching myself now. But through that tic, I've actually given myself sciatica. So I get pain all in my spine, down my legs, because I've damaged the nerves in my back.
so you're quite hypermobile, which again, Ehlers-Danlos is another potential link. I call them diagnoses. I say that if we consider disease states to be all interlinked, that's what I say about animals and humans, then there's a possibility of multiple modalities of healing that we can try. But in my case, I had to try all of them. And I say that in my book at the end. I give multiple modalities, and in using all of them, I got to this point. So that's what I want to encourage people. If you have tried something, anybody watching today, listening to your incredible story, if you have tried one modality, then have a look, investigate something else. My jaw, Lauren, was misaligned from birth.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't open my mouth to go to the dentist. He couldn't get the tools and the necessary instruments into the mouth because my jaw, like yours, was almost locked up, and it would also vibrate and shake. Basically, Dr. Perrin has realigned, because he's an osteopath and a neuroscientist, he has slowly over the years, Lauren, realigned the shape of my jaw. He always says the sooner you get the treatment to realign parts of the structure of the body, the faster the opportunity is to recover. So Lauren, what you were saying there, through your process of recovery, you've obviously had the medicinal approach, and what other approaches have you used that might help other people? So you've got your disability aids, which is your walking stick and your wheelchair. And is there anything else that is a support that might help others?
I think for me, the biggest thing, not a physical aid, was finding a community. Finding a community of people who are like me, who have been through similar things to me. That has helped me the most, I think. Finding people who understand what I'm going through and connecting with them has made the world of difference to me.
Wow. And share with us that, because if anybody wants to link with you personally, Lauren, and I highly recommend that they do, such words of wisdom from, from a lady of age 22, when you've gone through a disability and you are young, I think it makes you more mature. Would you agree with that?
I think so, yeah.
Because go on, you extend and expand on that. Why do you think that happens?
I think that for me personally, when I was 17 and I donated the blood, had the seizure, and my health declined so rapidly, I was forced to kind of grow up. I had to start thinking about things that people my age don't usually have to think about, like how am I going to get from place A to B when I can't walk properly and I can't do this and I can't do that. And it was very difficult because I saw all my other friends and they were going out partying and then later on clubbing and that kind of thing, and I couldn't do any of that. So the things that they were thinking about and focused on were very different to the things that I was thinking about and focused on, because my whole life revolved around trying to manage my symptoms and trying to get healthier, and be able to live life with my condition, whereas the others kind of took for granted their health, or
Yes.
at least I felt like they did. And I felt quite separated from a lot of my classmates because our priorities were so different now. So I was forced to grow up a lot quicker than I think other people, because of the way that I wasn't able to kind of stay focused on the parties and the going out and having fun, whereas I was more focused on my symptoms and my treatments.
That's really interesting that you've shared that, because I do know many patients with different disabilities, and they have said the same, that when something hits you in a younger age, you do feel like you're disconnected from the rest of the world. What I'm hearing you say is, when you suddenly at a young age are unable to do all of these things, all the things that young people want to do, how does that really feel inside?
It's difficult. I mean, on the one hand, like going to university and that kind of thing, I was never sure whether I wanted to go or not. But then being told you can't go was then like, so now I don't have the choice. And that was what I struggled with, was that even if, like, I know that I wouldn't like clubbing, I know that, parties aren't really my thing, but not having the choice to do it is quite upsetting. So it's like I don't even have the chance to find out if I do like this.
Oh, Lauren.
I'm not able to do it. Because like my seizures, I have photosensitive seizures, so flashing lights, strobe lighting, that kind of thing I can't do.
Yeah,
so
that's
clubbing is completely out of the question for me. But
yeah.
And I know that it's not the right environment. I don't like loud noises, I don't like crowded spaces. But not being able to do it even once, like, it's something I'd like to be able to say, yeah, I went clubbing once. And I can't say that because I can't go.
For you personally, the inability to go and socialize is because you collapse in these environments. Is that correct?
Yes.
What actually happens when you go into these environments, Lauren?
So when I am around flashing lights, so whether that's like a police car going past at night or TV shows with flashing effects, I often pass out and I will have convulsive seizures. Occasionally sometimes I have the kind of stereotypical seizure, the tonic-clonic, the convulsive ones. Sometimes it's more of an absent seizure, where it looks like I'm daydreaming, but I'm not there at all. And I'm completely unconscious. I don't remember anything from these events. I just kind of remember the before and the after. And before I was on medication, I would lose kind of hours before the event of the seizure. Whereas now with the medication, I can remember pretty much straight up to when I had the seizure and then afterwards, whereas I'm not losing all that time anymore, which is good. But it's still distressing to go through.
Wow. So you really are living this day by day, moment by moment. And how is going into a classroom next week, which I'm excited for you about, how is that going to affect your condition?
A lot of it is about trying to find ways to cope with it, like ourselves. So for example, with those bright lights and that kind of thing, I've got night driving glasses, which reduce the kind of like the glow around the lights, and it makes it not as kind of intense for me.
Right. And do you drive, Lauren?
I don't drive. I'm not allowed to because of my seizures, but when I am in a car, I use the night driving glasses.
And just explain what thank you for that. Just explain what those night driving glasses are, because I am going to get some. So just tell me what they are.
They're like glasses. I think they're yellow tinted, and they reduce the glare on like bright lights and that kind of thing, and it makes it a lot less intense and a lot less kind of painful to.
And is
it
like these, Lauren? I'm just going to show you. These are is it these glasses? Because I may already have them,
Very
and they
similar, yeah.
reduce the glare, let's say on the computer screens, etc., and at night time as well. So you've got, it kind of helps you to go to sleep as well if you wear these types of glasses. I can't see a thing with those on. But the point is, you would put your reading glasses, etc., behind those. But are those the same glasses? And can you explain to anybody listening today what those are and perhaps where they can get them from?
Yeah, so they're very similar to those ones. Mine are yellow tinted, I think. But I think, where did I get mine from? I got mine online somewhere. I just typed in night driving glasses. Someone else suggested it to me to try and reduce the glare, because obviously I'm photosensitive with the seizures and that kind of thing. They said, why don't you try these? And although they don't save me from like the flashing lights causing seizures, but they do reduce the discomfort I feel when I'm around bright lights that aren't flashing.
Yeah. So I also have to wear silver foil protection, would you believe? I don't know if it's something that you've used or tried. And there's a lot of patients who have found an alleviation of symptomology by wearing foil-based covers on the bed, because we are in a very highly electrical world now, as each level of electricity advances. And I find that the chronic headaches I experience as I go to sleep are alleviated by wearing foil protection. So there's another potential tool that might help somebody out there who's suffering, with electromagnetic sensitivity, and as you've just highlighted, light sensitivity, and all of these impairments that you and I suffer day to day. You're saying that your seizures and tics are manageable in a classroom environment. Is that correct, Lauren?
Yes, with lots of different mechanisms for kind of alleviating symptoms. I have been able to work in classrooms before, so I'm hoping that it goes well this time.
I'm sure it will. And can I just ask, do you use things such as these light reducing glasses?
So again, it depends on the classroom and what's in the classroom. If they are using bright LED lights, and I might use my night driving glasses to kind of reduce some of that glare.
Yeah.
I have earplugs. I have loop earplugs. I've got the switch ones where they're earplugs that you can, there's a little switch on the side that can either reduce or let in more sound. And they are incredible because I'm very sensitive to sound. And loud environments make my tics worse. It can make my seizures worse when I get really overwhelmed. But it means I have the choice. There's 3 different like noise settings, and you can like turn it up or down depending on how much noise you want to let in.
So what I love, Lauren, is what you have just described today is some other modalities that can help other people, which is just fantastic. So loop earplugs, the glasses for nighttime, particularly if you're a passenger in a car. Also, what about when you're watching a play?
So I personally really struggle going to theatre performances and cinema performances, because the majority of plays and things will have strobe lighting at somewhere in them.
Yeah.
Whether that's in the pantomime when there's a thunderclap and then the lightning comes on, or shows like Six and Heathers, which always have the strobe and that kind of thing. Like, it's amazing how many films and shows have strobe that you don't notice unless you're sensitive to it.
Yeah.
So if you look at your favorite TV show, your favorite film, I can almost guarantee that it will have a warning on it that says there may be light sequences in this that are not suitable for photosensitive viewers. And that's what I have to look at every time I go anywhere, because I am photosensitive, and if it's got that warning on it, it is likely that I will have a seizure in response to the light.
Wow.
So I can't really help you with going to the theatre, because
no, that's really interesting. What you're saying is that, I mean, could you close your eyes when the lights are flashing?
I could, but there's not usually a warning before they do it.
Interesting. So your tics would just go prolific under a strobe?
No, so it's not the tics, it's the seizures. So
Seizures.
I will just I'll collapse. I won't be conscious. May have convulsions. I don't know. I'm not there.
Of course. Right. Well, that's so interesting. So How, Lauren, as an advocate, do you think we could make those changes better for people with neurodiversity? Because if this is a hat that you're wearing, which is just a beautiful hat to wear, do you think there's any changes that could be made? Often there are warnings outside the theatres, but is there any way that we could be better prepared for people like you and I that are struggling? And if we're struggling, there must be a lot of other people also struggling. Yeah, a lot of people. Now we've got this new diagnosis of long COVID ME, then we've now got an enormous amount of people who are facing very similar overlapping symptomology. So how can we better support the public? Because we are a community and we should all be able to do, you know, the same things, and at the very least go and watch a show if I can't perform in one. So how could this be helped, do you think? What could we do?
So I know that a lot of theatres, or some theatres, do what they call relaxed screenings or relaxed performances. And these are usually catered towards children with autism. So they leave the lights on in the auditorium so it doesn't go dark. They take out any loud noises and bright flashes. And people are free to move around the theatre or cinema as they please during the performance. So it's very, like I said, it's very much relaxed. And I think that that is very helpful. But I think we need to extend it beyond just thinking about children with autism. Because what I've noticed is all of the plays and performances that provide a relaxed screening are all the ones that are aimed towards children. They never do a relaxed screening of the more adult plays because they see it as like a, I don't know, a childish thing to need. But in reality, there's a lot of adults who also struggle with the same things that autistic children struggle with.
Yeah.
Whether it's the loud noises, whether it's not being able to stay quiet. Like for myself with Tourette's, I can't just keep quiet for the whole of a performance. And I don't want to disrupt the experience of other people. So going to a relaxed performance where people are free to make noise and free to move around would be ideal for me.
Yeah.
But they only ever do it on, like, you know, Peppa Pig's Day Out and that kind of thing.
Really? That's so interesting, Lauren. I mean, is that changing at all? And can you do anything as an advocate to help support that change?
I'm hoping to. So I've noticed that in the recent years, they've started doing it for more performances. So like there were some for The Lion King, for example, which obviously both children and adults enjoy.
Yeah.
But I still haven't seen any for like 18 plus plays. So for example, Heathers is something that I would really like to see because I love the songs in it, but it's got a lot of strobe lighting in it from what I understand. So if they were to do a relaxed screening of that where they just, you know, took out the strobe lighting, reduced the noise a little bit, made it so that you didn't have to stay silent the whole way through, I would love that. And I'm sure so many other people would as well, who are in a similar position to myself.
So before I conclude today, Lauren, I hadn't realised the time has gone so quickly with you. Moving forwards as an ambassador for neurodiversity and disability, what is ahead for you now? Obviously, you're starting your job next week, which is going to be helping lots and lots of people with different health conditions from age 2 to age 25. And with your advocacy and your red carpet event. So just tell us today a little bit about the award ceremony that you had, Lauren, because I'm very excited to hear about that. So tell me what award you're up for.
So I was up for the Positive Role Model Award for Age in the National Diversity Awards of 2024. Which is such an incredible opportunity. I couldn't believe it when I was nominated, and then I was just in absolute shock when I found out I was a finalist, because it's been a goal of mine for a long time now, ever since I kind of started my advocacy journey, to be nominated for a National Diversity Award. But I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want anyone to nominate me because I want to be nominated. I wanted to be nominated because I deserve it. So I didn't mention it to anyone. And then when I got that email through this year, I was like, oh my goodness, someone actually thinks I'm deserving of this award. Which was,
and tell me what that entails. Tell me what how you came about that award, and what that entailed moving on that red carpet. I mean, how was that?
It was such a great night. I mean, it was in Liverpool, so we travelled up to Liverpool on the train, got all dressed up. It was lovely. It was really exciting. It was nice to have an event to kind of get properly dressed up for, since like my prom. So we went in and they took photos on the red carpet, which was really good fun, with like the backdrop and everything. And then we went and sat down, had a lovely meal, and then they proceeded with the awards. And like before each one, they'd read out all the nominees and what they were doing, and then they would announce the winner. And then they asked all of us to put together like a little video for, in case we win, we'll play this when you're on your way up to the stage. And it was really lovely listening to everyone's kind of kind words about the winner. It was such a great evening.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible. And what was the award? How did people nominate you? And what have you been doing, Lauren, for them to nominate you?
So it was all done online. So you can nominate people on the website, I believe. And then once you've been nominated, you get like a link for people to vote for you. So you say, I'm voting for Lauren for this reason, she's done this, this and this, and that's why I'm voting for Lauren. And then the votes were all added up, and they looked at the number of the votes, the quality of the votes, what had been said, and then chose some finalists, which was super exciting. And a lot of the kind of messages on my votes were that I've helped people kind of come to terms with their conditions, and I've made a difference in their lives by recommending what's helped me and what could help them and that kind of thing. So I mean, I was nearly brought to tears reading through everyone's kind comments about me, to know that I've made a difference in that many people's lives. I mean, I got over 100 votes in the end, and to read through over 100 lovely kind messages about myself was just so lovely.
And so deserving, Lauren, as well. You are a beautiful soul. You can feel that through the camera screen. You really, really, truly are. What an absolutely lovely lady that you are. And what have you been doing online for those votes to come to fruition? And have you been giving public speeches and things?
Yes, I have. So I am a public speaker for the Neurodiversity Youth Council. I've spoken at events in London. I've spoken at events in places as far as Belgium, which was super exciting.
Wow.
So I went to the EFGCP Better Medicines for Children and Drug Development in the Pediatrics Sector Conference. It's a mouthful, that is.
Goodness.
To speak about my personal experiences of taking medication and for different neurodivergencies and being disabled and that kind of thing. And it was really, really interesting listening to all these amazing doctors and people in the pharmaceutical industry talking about kind of what's coming next, what they want to improve, and asking me my opinion. I was like, wow, I don't feel important enough to be asked my opinion by all these amazing big companies. But I mean, it was a great opportunity.
That's fantastic. And what have you been doing online as well? Are people contacting you? So how can people get in touch? Obviously, it's Lauren Wyatt, WYATT, on Facebook and socials. But how can people contact you who are interested in, employing you perhaps as a vocal presenter and an ambassador? Is there any other way that they can contact you, Lauren?
Yeah, so through any of my kind of social medias, you can drop me a message. I should be able to see that, or you can email me on aesthetictouretic@gmail.com.
Okay, just say that again.
aesthetictouretic@gmail.com.
Fantastic. And also moving forwards now, what lies ahead for you, Lauren? Obviously the big venture starting next Monday, and is there anything in the pipeline for 2025?
Well, one of the goals of the Youth Council is, I don't know whether it will be in 2025, but we'd like to go to New York to petition the United Nations about neurodiverse opportunity and change. So I'm hoping that will be somewhere in the foreseeable, to go and petition them and hopefully make a big difference in people's lives.
Well, you already are, and what an absolute privilege, Lauren, to speak to you today on the Catherine Vandome and Me podcast. It really has been an absolute joy, and time has gone so quickly for me. And thank you so much for appearing onto today's show. And I hope you've enjoyed yourself. And thank you for sharing your story, Lauren. So final words for you today before we close.
Thank you so much for having me. I think it's such a great opportunity to share my story and hopefully make an impact on someone's life.
Absolutely. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you, Lauren. Thank you so much for today. And I wish you all the very best ahead. We will certainly keep in contact and hopefully bring you back at some point in the future. Thank you for your time, Lauren. God bless. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, love.